Once you've made your money, I'll also teach you how to have your wife, Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, deny.
No, absolutely not.
Good girl, Nance. It's a ride or die right there. Some of you might be thinking, yuck, I could never, she's gross. And while it is true that Nance and her guns are taken, our investment course will offer a detailed list of all Congresswomen's whereabouts at all times for you to take your pick and try to wed one. Congresswomen like Susan Bonadici, or you're going to be Ricci, or let Rosa DeLuro bring her the info. Virginia Fox. Hey, politics isn't for hot people. It's for people who want to get filthy friggin' rich. Pat Kamak. Tell me there's not a lot of inside info inside that body. Eddie Johnson. All right, okay, this is not great, but I promise you there's some doable ones. Marcy Kaptur. You couldn't, for 100 milli, you couldn't, that's not gonna work for 100 milli. Listen, if you're fine with underperforming the market, just turn it off right now or you can forget we even spoke. Nanette Berrigan. You could get inside that for some inside info between me and you, right? Lauren Boebert. Although we do recommend Democrat Congresswomen, the media goes a little easier on them. Got in a little Dewey situation a little while back, and Nance took care of that too. The bottom.
Now, as you know, we're not fans of financial advice here on this show since there's a lot of scams out there. But let's not kid ourselves. If you want to get rich today, that's some really solid advice there. Welcome back, especially in this market. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski here of WeAreChange.org. And man, oh man, do we have some crazy information to get into today, as there is a plethora of deliberate destruction news happening in our social, political, economic way of life, as there is massive upheaval and, of course, lots of turbulence with American foreign policy, with some very surprising, eye-opening news from China. This, as we're going to connect the dots on a crazy bit of information from the U.S. House Intelligence Committee that is now warning you, if you or Elizabeth Warren that were trying to find out your identity for social credit, political brownie points, that yes, you could be the next target of a DNA weapon made specifically for you. Yes, sounds absurd. We've been talking about it for years. We're going to explain it in this particular broadcast. And before getting into all of that, plus a lot more, the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is, of course, by the amazingly talented Ryan Long, who outperformed himself when it came to just the incredible video that he released today that's titled How to Get Rich with Nancy Pelosi's Husband. We played a small clip of this video. If you want to watch the full video, definitely click the description down below to see it in full after this video. And truly, absolutely brilliant comedic work that we need more of, especially to laugh at the ever so disastrous financial situation that everyone is dealing with, since of course, you know, we're going through a great reset. We're going to be building back better by absolutely eviscerating and destroying any kind of wealth that human beings had. This, as financial institutions are just hyperinflating money, printing it out of thin air, just pressing zero on a keyboard, as of course the money is transferred to many multinational corporations, as of course politicians insider trade and get rich, as of course everyone else gets screwed over. And one of the many ways that the working class has been significantly getting screwed over with is of course with immigration policy, as of course even a couple years ago, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders was warning about how open immigration was a Koch brothers plan that mainly benefited them and other billionaires, that was able to lower the price of labor, increase the price of housing, making wages go down, while of course increasing the cost of living significantly. This, as many multinational corporations preyed on immigrants coming into this country, literally making them work for pennies on the dollar. And these policies are only exacerbated under the Biden administration, that, as we're finding out today, not only has been keeping the border open, not only has been incentivizing many people from all over the world to come into the United States not legally, but now we're hearing from the Daily Mail that the White House is considering giving ID cards to people crossing the border in order to make it easier for them to access benefits that, of course, are predominantly paid for through taxes, through the wages of the working class. This, as of course the Democratic Party sees an open immigration policy as a policy that of course will help them get reelected in the upcoming years. It also allows them to have a majority in Congress, as of course census data also includes people that they let into this country, allows them to have more of a representation in mainly Democratic areas. And while more people are struggling to survive, the poor people in this country are becoming that much poorer, the Biden administration literally is looking to give more benefits so they can could get more people coming across the border, which of course will only create more financial devastation for the average American. Now, financially, people are getting screwed over, not just by the government, but also a lot of multinational corporations that now are implementing microtransactions to the absurd point where even BMW is trying to get their customers who bought their cars to pay every month in order to use heated seats. Yes, these are the microtransactions that will be happening more and more, along, of course, with the latest service charges, convenience charges, and many other ways that private corporations are trying to, of course, make money in an economy that's being deliberately destroyed. It's being deliberately destroyed here in the United States, especially when it comes to domestic energy policy. It's even being more destroyed in Canada, where they're following policies that were implemented in, of course, Sri Lanka and in Holland, and limiting the abilities of farmers to farm and produce food for the population. This, as Canada is, of course, going strong with their nitrogen policy, as at the same time they're trying to disarm the local population there, as, of course, many social, political, economic experts are warning about food crises coming our way. This, along with the conflict in Ukraine and the denial of energy and sanctions and larger economic warfare between the East and the West, let's just say financially things aren't really looking good. Unlike for Ghislaine Maxwell, a person who worked with the intelligence agencies of many countries over the last 30 years that used your tax dollars in order to procure small children to unaccountable billionaires and, of course, multinational corporate head big banks, many politicians and celebrities in Hollywood. And now she's getting a taxpayer-funded, low-security federal prison stint where she gets to take part in inmate talent shows, yoga sessions, and is being taught trades like baking, plumbing, and cosmetology. I kid you not. Ghislaine Maxwell right now is in a Fed jail with all the amenities that many people in this country can't even afford themselves. This, of course, paid for by your tax dollars, just like the 30-year international child extortion and trafficking operation, which your tax dollars funded. And when you being screwed by the government, specifically with children being screwed by the government, with money being taken away from you, with any kind of upward economic mobility being denied to you, unless you're, of course, Nancy Pelosi's husband. This is why U.S. senators like Rand Paul have publicly recently come out and said, quote, "There's going to come a day of reckoning. People will rise up," as he has openly declared that, quote, "We've had enough." And I think there's definitely some truth to the words of Rand Paul, as, of course, we've been seeing civil unrest happening all over the world, which we've been documenting, but very oddly, the Western corporate media has been mostly ignoring. But I think it's fair to say that there definitely is going to be a larger pushback. This is something that, of course, we talk about and have predicted successfully on LukeUncensored.com, where we strive to give you the best insider information to help you navigate the crazy world that we are dealing with right now. We do this by providing a new video almost every single day. That, along with exclusive merchandise, 3 masterclasses, and a forum, we're able to communicate, work on projects together. And man, oh man, are there some important topics that I want to talk about today that I will on LukeUncensored.com that, of course, I cannot get into on this particular platform. But yeah, just wait. Right after this video, the Luke Uncensored video, the exclusive video, comes out ready for you. You can access it just by clicking and signing up for as low as 50 cents a day. And today we also will be continuing our AMA through our forum and answering your questions directly. Lots of questions, lots of ways to find other like-minded individuals in your local towns and communities. There's a lot of members. Join up right now on LukeUncensored.com just by clicking the link down in the description below. Now, if you remember a few months ago, and also a few years ago, since we've been talking about this sporadically within the last few years, we have been talking about DNA genetic specific weaponry that's being developed, as of course we have detailed the advancement of biological weaponry, and we have warned you about the great potentials and grave implications of a lot of these technological advancements. And just moments ago, we are finding out from the U.S. House Intelligence Committee that a hostile power, an individual, or an organization can take your DNA and design a specific weapon to target you and to eliminate you. Again, this is not sci-fi. We've been warning you about this for a very long time, and now we have it right in our face, as of course U.S. Congress members like Jason Crow are specifically warning about biological weapons that could be specifically made for you, especially if you used sites like 23andMe, DNA genetic ancestry sites that look at your DNA, try to find your relatives. In other countries, they tell you about the details about your own personal health. In this country, there's HIPAA laws that prevent them from doing that. But essentially, when you have someone's DNA, which a lot of people have even paid to give up, while of course other people have literally given it up without even consenting to it or knowing to it. We're going to get into that and explain that in just a little bit. What these people have done is essentially given out a blueprint of your own creation, of your physical existence in this world, and given it to private companies that literally sell your data on the market to any customer that is willing to pay for it. Yes, companies like 23andMe are literally trading and selling your genetic data for your own profit, even though you paid them to give you information about you. They're taking that blueprint, that information that could be used to kill you, now openly on the market. There, of course, is also an illegal underground black market, which the Chinese government is involved here. We're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. But when you have Congress members that get intelligence reports, that get information that is classified that the average American can't see, telling you, hey, stop voluntarily giving your DNA to private companies that sell it to private parties, a part of the House Intelligence Committee, this should raise some eyebrows. As of course, this leaves a lot of people asking the question, what do they know that we don't know about? What kind of classified information are they seeing that the general public is not allowed to see? And that, of course, should be on everyone's list of concerns, as we're also finding out, according to the CDC, that they voluntarily took the tests for the global sickness going around, took your nose swabs, and literally volunteered it for lab genomic sequencing analysis. They took your DNA without asking, without even getting consent for it, and they started to manipulate it for their own scientific experiments and purposes. And this is what the CDC admittedly does, as of course many people don't understand. When you take one of these tests that's associated with your name, your age, your location, your identity, and who you are, you essentially are also giving a DNA sample, which the CDC has used for their own genetic DNA tests. Why is this important? Well, specifically because other countries and foreign sinister corporations and organizations could easily collect that data, just like China has been trying to collect many of these tests for their own DNA harvesting. Now, why is China doing this? Some people jump to the conclusions that this could be specifically to launch a larger biological attack on the United States that will be DNA specific to Americans only. That's some of the more grandiose speculations out there. Other people are saying that they could also try to financially gain the big pharma market by, of course, seeing everyone's DNA. They could see what kind of diseases and sicknesses Americans are more likely to get. They could start producing and developing drugs that they're going to be dependent on, and they could essentially beat out other big pharma corporations by understanding the larger health problems people will have in the future and essentially gaining the market to have a profit over everyone else, giving them an unfair edge and destroying all the other competitors. Financially, this would help China dominate the big pharma world market, which is a huge market, but also extensively, if there was a hypothetical war between China and the United States, they could take that DNA and they could create gene-specific weapons, and they could just release it to the general public and absolutely obliterate the American people and the American public. Now, this is just an understanding of foreign policy. Domestically, if a lot of other powerful organizations or sinister groups want to conduct, let's just say, a depopulation agenda, depopulation program, what better way than to get everyone's DNA and to create specific weaponry in order to help accelerate the depopulation agenda? Now, China has implemented a lot of extreme measures, to say the least. They not only probably DNA harvested their entire population, but they also got a little bit of extra details about them by going into more of their own personal private spaces that we can't mention here on this family-friendly show. But the reason I used China is because there are a lot of tensions. There is the Thucydides trap. There is a larger challenge between the West and the East, to the point where China has even now today confirmed that they are warning the United States about the Speaker of the House, Miss Moneybags herself, Nancy Pelosi, from visiting Taiwan. This, as some people are calling it, a chilling warning, as Beijing is saying that they are, quote, seriously prepared if Pelosi dares to make a visit to Taiwan, specifically promising some serious consequences. This, as the Speaker of the House has refused to confirm her trip there. This, as Taiwan is even holding drills, preparing for the possibility of a Chinese invasion. This, as we're also finding out today that the United States might even deploy a U.S. aircraft carrier into the region for Pelosi's trip. All, of course, as China has been becoming more intricately involved in our everyday lives, as, of course, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has been warning about the Chinese government buying up a lot of farmland, not just in Florida, but all throughout the United States. As today, we're finding out that the Chinese Communist government owns nearly 200,000 acres of American farmland that is worth $1.9 billion. They have just purchased 300 acres in North Dakota, 20 minutes away from a U.S. military base, and I think it's fair to say that whether it's the Chinese or other unaccountable billionaires here in the United States, their latest hunt and acquisition of farmland should be concerning to everyone, especially with what people expect to be a lot of food shortages ahead of us. Are these just sound financial investments, or are things about to get really, really crazy? Well, let me know down in the comment section below what you think is going to be happening. No one has a magic 8-ball, but I think it's fair to say, with all the calamities, with all the insanity, with all the insane technological advancements that we have been seeing portrayed just publicly of what we know now, this is not even the classified stuff. And with this technology, with this godlike power being held in fewer and fewer more unaccountable hands, I think it's fair to say that we are going to be going through some very interesting times ahead of us. I hope you guys are prepared. We're going to be discussing that plus a lot more later on today on LukeUncensored.com. If you liked what we did, share this video with your friends and family members. If you disliked it, dislike the video. Let me know why. I appreciate constructive criticism, and mainly that's because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. I've been doing this for like 15 years now. I love to do this. I love to talk to you guys. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening. I love you guys. Stay tuned for a lot more here on wearechange.org.